Well, welcome everybody. We're here with Enoch Weaver. We've known each other for how long has it been? Like a year and a half, somewhere around there.
Yeah, about that since I started going to swing.
Yeah, yeah. Started going swing dancing. So if you ever see this guy out on the dance floor, you better grab him, because he's a heck of a dancer. How long have you been swing dancing for?
Swing dancing, well, I mean, I learned a little bit from your sister-in-law Sierra and Brooklyn when we lived up in that
Mm,
neighborhood. But aside from that, it's just been, last whatever it was,
okay,
November or something. So about a year now.
okay. Um,
Yeah,
but but you're saying not just swing dance, you do other kinds of dance as well.
yeah. I did a lot of theater. I've taken like a fair number of ballet classes. I've done some tap and modern, and then a little bit of ballroom as needed in choreography during those plays. So
Okay, okay, and
yeah,
we might get into this later on. You having aspirations to be an actor, but maybe that's
yeah.
a little bit
Down the
later
road.
on. Now I see you taking theater classes, so it's not. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, but little bit of introduction on you. You've been in sales for the past 2 years now. You've gone around, right? It's 2 years, right?
3 years now.
3 years. Um,
Yeah.
going around selling. You've been in Hawaii. You've been on the East Coast. You've been all over the place,
Yep.
doing sales. And now, kind of the next step is going into buying a business rather than starting one
Right.
yourself. Buying one.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, super excited for that.
yeah, that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into it. Um, I'd love to hear just more about you growing up. Who were you growing up? Kind of how did you get into sales, entrepreneurship?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up was about as unconventional as it comes for us. I My family moved all over the place. We were pretty normal until I was about 10 or 11, and then we just started moving all over the place. We moved to Virginia at one point, Arizona, spent some decent amount of time in California, northern Utah, Idaho, and we lived on the road as well for a while. And so, like, we literally lived out of a minivan and camping for up to a year at a time, just craziness.
What?
And yeah, so that was quite an interesting growing up. And I was homeschooled through all of that, of course. Me and my 7 siblings. So uh,
Yeah.
quite an adventure growing up. Uh, my dad's very bright. He's an engineer by trade, and he spends a lot of time with various sciences. My mom got a degree in biology, and she's very musically talented, which is kind of where I got that side from.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, so leaving when I moved out, I wasn't really thinking at all about being in sales. I just wanted to be in theater and be in movies and all that. I loved acting, and so I actually moved out to LA for a while. And that was, a whole thing. I worked some random jobs. Um,
What? I did not know
yeah,
that.
yeah, I lived out there for a solid year. When I first moved out there, I was living out of my car for about 2 months till I found a place, and then lived there for about a year. And then I came back. There honestly wasn't too big a reason. I remember. I guess, felt like it was time to leave, and it ended up being a month before the pandemic hit. So it was super lucky that I got out of LA and got back here in St. George before, you know, everything shut down like crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, getting into summer sales was kind of interesting. I was just, hanging out at the institute building at the college, playing ping pong with friends. And at one point, one of them mentioned that he was going away for the summer to go do sales. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. He told me a little bit about it. And then I went home and did a bunch of research on my own, looking into, what it was actually like, whether it was, people were actually making money or whether it was kind of a weird operation or whether it was normal.
Yeah.
Um, I came back and I was pretty happy with that. I was like, okay, this seems like a good gig. And so I basically told him, hey, uh, if you can set me up a meeting with your manager, I want to go out with you. And so it was not your normal like recruiting. It was just I heard about it. I did a ton of research on it, and I was like, "Hey, sign me up." He's like, "What?" Like,
That's so awesome.
yeah. So that was, I guess, kind of the shortened version of growing up and getting into sales. How I got into that.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, going from living out of your car, it was your two parents plus seven siblings. When you say living out of a car, like all of your clothes were in there, like were you going hotel to hotel? How did?
No, so we never stayed in hotels like almost at all. We were literally camping and we would shower at gyms.
Okay.
And so we'd go to the gym. Uh, sounds nasty now that I think about it, but we would shower like once, maybe twice a week. We'd just go to the gym maybe sometime during the week, but then always on Saturday night, so that
Yeah,
for church on Sunday we didn't smell terrible.
sure.
Um, but yeah, all of our clothes. Uh, for some of it, it wasn't all of us because, of course, they were younger. I'm second oldest, and so for a while it was just five of us or six of us, and then seven of us, and then finally eight kids, and the two parents. So eventually there were 10 of us living out of an 8-seat van. So that was
Wow. Wow. How
quite the adventure.
so how did you because I'm trying to connect the dots here. How
Yeah,
did kind of growing up lead into you even wanting to go into sales? Because very few I would say very few people like actually want to go into sales unless they have some kind of background, they're really good with people or something like that. How did that
right.
transition to sales? Like, you said your mom did music, she was more musically inclined, she had a degree in music. How did that transfer?
Yeah, so for me, it was less about sales. Like I always have loved people, but
Okay.
growing up homeschooled and traveling around so much, I didn't really have a lot of social interaction till I was about like 16, 17 and started doing a bunch of theater. That was the first time I'd really spent a lot of time around people
Mm,
consistently. And so I never considered myself very social or charismatic. Like my grandma always said that I'd be good in sales, but I didn't believe her because I still felt very awkward. For me, it was more that I wanted to be successful, and I knew I wanted to be successful. Um, and I knew that with acting, I didn't want to go work a restaurant job for 10 years trying to go to auditions and do the whole, the nonsense that everyone does there. I really didn't want to do that. And so I knew I wanted to do YouTube stuff. I knew I wanted to do something else and really find a steady base and then go and put time into things I was passionate about after I had, a solid foundation and I wasn't going to starve on the street or whatever. And so when sales came along, it really was just about, it seemed like an opportunity where I could put as much as I wanted to into it and get that much out of it. And that was the first opportunity I'd had where it's like, this is uncapped. As long as you work hard, you're going to make good money. And the only person holding you back is yourself. And so that's really what led me to it. It wasn't,
mm,
it wasn't that I was so charismatic or that I
okay.
was good with people or anything. It was just I knew I wanted to be successful, and I was like, oh wait, you're telling me that if I work harder, I'll make more, and there's no cap on this? You're telling me that this is not an hourly job? Like I'm
Mm,
actually gonna be rewarded for my hard work? Like that was what got me into it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You actually get to keep like the fruits of your labor. Where
right.
if you make 10 sales, you get this much money versus you can wait however many tables or you can do however much work and you're still gonna make the same amount or you're still gonna have
Yeah.
the same amount.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you did so good. We'll give you $1 an hour raise every
Yeah,
2 years. It's like, yeah, I was so drawn to the opportunity where I could really make something of myself and have my income just completely tied to that.
for sure.
Yeah,
Do you feel like that? Because some people, I don't know if it's like if you're born with it or you learn it. Um, but for a lot of people, like there's a lot of um, safety and security, like knowing how much you're going to make before you even start. Was that ever a worry for you going into summer sales, or did you not even think about that?
so it's funny you say that because there were two reasons why I didn't really feel that way as much as a lot of people do. First, I was very confident in my ability and always have been to pick up new things. Like I'm just so confident that if I need to, I can pick up a new skill. And that's from, I've been a jack of all trades my whole life. I always love picking up new skills, and it's never been that hard for me to pick something up.
Mm, that
And so
makes
I,
sense.
I, I was confident I'd do well. The second thing, though, funny enough, is that because I grew up literally camping, I need zero money. Like,
Yeah.
there's no worry. Like, oh no, what happens if I lose my job or if I don't do well? It's like as long as I have like a card that at least kind of works, I'm fine. Like at one point in LA, my car, like I was living out of my car and my car broke down. And so I was in a car that could not move for like, it was like a full month. Like the car could not move.
What?
And so I literally like, it's just crazy, like to even now think about it. But like there's street sweeps in LA. And so I literally at some point had to push my car that didn't work in the middle of the night so the neighbors wouldn't get mad at me across the street so that I wouldn't get towed and then back after the street sweeping came in the morning. Like I am just so okay with living with nothing that there's not any risk.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's common with I don't know if it's successful people or what, but like they're willing to lose it all and they're willing to risk
Yeah,
it all. And it's like
right.
I was talking with Vance, who you know, um,
Yeah,
and we were talking about like being being okay with losing everything. If you're okay with it, then you can risk it. If you're truly independent from other people, then it's like I can go and risk this, and if I succeed, awesome. If it all falls apart, here's the worst case scenario. If I'm okay with the worst case, then that's fine.
right. Yeah, there's so much power in that. It's
Mhm.
your unfair advantage. I was just listening to Alex Hormozy say that the other day. Like your unfair advantage is that you can go all in, like, and other people can't. I'm fine with losing everything, and I'm going to be smart about my investment. But I'm totally fine just going all in because I know I'll make it back if I lose it all.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
You've as we've talked over the past couple days, you've talked about Alex Hormozy quite a bit,
yeah,
and you've talked
yeah.
about other books and stuff. When did you start getting into really? I would have guessed self help or business or that kind of stuff. When did you get into that, and kind of what's been your story there?
Yeah, so it mostly started like towards the end of my summer with sales. I've always been really big on education. Education's huge. But I actually thought most self-help was kind of laughable for a long time. And I still feel that way about some of it, where it's like your traditional self-help book is kind of just spewing feel good about yourself
Yeah, yeah,
and
for
tell
sure.
yourself you're awesome in the mirror every morning. And some of that, like there is some power to like affirmations, but some of the self-help books I still find it laughable. But towards the end of my summer, I the company I worked for had an Audible subscription. They had a bunch of books on there, and I started
Oh,
going through and listening to a ton of those and finding some that I really liked. And that's really the start of my journey with a lot of that education through reading and I guess self-help with some of it as well. Um, yeah, towards the end of that summer when I started being like, oh, there's some really good stuff out here. I need to really step it up and be more knowledgeable about this.
for sure.
Yeah.
A little practical note, because I did that with my own team, and then we with the Audible account,
Mm-hmm.
and we ran into issues like logins, and did they have a company Audible, and everybody had their own, or was everybody sharing the same? Like, because I feel like that would be such a good, powerful tool for a company. So it's an important question because I want to do it in my
Yeah.
own companies. Was it like, do I need to buy a separate Audible account for everybody, or is it there a group package that I can buy on? How's that work?
So,
Or are we
knock
gonna
on wood,
rat out? Or are we gonna rat out your summer sales company?
I'm gonna be totally honest. I do not think that they know that I'm still on
Okay,
there. And knock on wood, because if I got logged out, I would not be able to log back in. I have no idea what the login is.
okay,
But I think it's just one account because it's the name of the Audible account is still the name of my team lead,
okay.
and I think it's just his Audible account that he let anyone get on, and
Gotcha.
I just haven't logged out of it on my phone, and I'm just still chilling, just
I
mooching off all those good books.
and he's every so once in a while he's like, I don't remember buying this book.
No. I don't buy books from there. No.
Okay, okay.
I'm flying under the radar. I'll just pick from his selection. He's got like probably maybe like 150 on there,
Yeah.
and so he's got a good selection that I can look through. And some of them I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested in that. But like, I read a big book on real estate investing on there. The Alchemist, I read on there, which
I
is a
like
great
that
book.
one. Yeah.
A bunch of others like The Psychology of Selling and The 10X Rule, Grant Cardone, things like that.
Okay.
So a lot
What
of those books are
are
more centered on
no, yeah,
the
you
what?
I was just gonna ask, um uh well, probably when you're scrolling you're like, oh, I don't need to read the Vampire Diaries and what was that, Moonlight or something?
No, actually, the Twilight series has been the most influential to my entrepreneurial journey. It's just
Twilight, Harry Potter, yes. What are some of those like most influential books that you've read over
Let's
the
see.
past
I
couple
brought
years?
my computer here so I can look up things. I make notes. I honestly forget the names of a lot of books that I read.
Yeah.
I just absorb the information as best I can, and then I'll look back on them if I can afterwards. Let's see. I really liked. Um, let's see. The book on investing in real estate with no money down by Brandon Turner. That was a really good book. Just great high level on real estate investing. I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really looking at real estate investing right now because there's a lot of higher leverage opportunities that I want, like business acquisition. But that's a great book just so I can, talk with friends of mine who are interested in it and know a lot more about it. And there's a lot of concepts in there on leverage and how to structure terms of deals to get better deals, even if you're not negotiating on price, negotiating on terms. That's a great book. Um, Recently, I've read Lynchpin by Seth Godin. I like that one. Building a Story Brand is also pretty good. As far as books that I read on the Audible account, The Alchemist, I would obviously recommend. I think that was a great book. Let's see. Grant Cardone's got some good stuff. Almost anything of his. The Psychology of Selling, I think, is a great read for anyone, even if they're not interested in sales.
Okay. That
I
one's
think that was
by Brian
Brian.
Tracy?
Yeah, I think it is Brian Tracy.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Tracy. I think that was the one. It may have been. I'm going to be totally honest. It could be a different book that had a similar title, but I'm pretty sure it's that one.
Yeah,
Um,
Enoch is leading everyone astray so they don't pick up on all of his sales secrets.
yes, it's my secret strategy. I can't give away my sources.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that one is so good.
Okay.
It just goes into because even if you're not in sales, if you're in entrepreneurship at all, you really are in sales. Like entrepreneurship is all about negotiating with people, structuring deals. Whether you're talking to someone who you're trying to close a deal with, like someone you're purchasing from, or your employees, or business partners, or even if like you're trying to go get funding, or you're trying to drum up customers by yourself. There's just selling is entrenched in every single aspect of entrepreneurship. So that's a really good book.
For sure.
Yeah, The Personal MBA is also good by Josh Kaufman, I think. That's another great high level book. One of his goals in writing that was to basically give people a jumping off point so that they know where specifically they can go find books on. And it was a great high level overview. Um, and then I guess the last one I would put on the list is $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy. That's fantastic, but it's pretty short. It's a quick read. It's like 99 cents on Kindle. So like, there's no excuse to not read it. He always says, right?
Yeah.
But that's an amazing book and anything. I've honestly gotten a lot more sometimes from podcasts than I have from books.
Really?
Like I use both the tools quite a lot. Like listening to people like Cody Sanchez or Alex Hormozy. A lot of times there's more content and it's great to be able to see a little bit more into their mind. Less a polished work, but really see how they think and how they operate and how they consider different options. That's really cool to see the gears turning in a very successful person's brain.
For sure. Yeah, because
Yeah.
like you said, a book, it's their finished work. It's like
Right.
everything that they would possibly want you to know about this subject. They have it organized and everything. But then on the other hand, you have the podcast or you have an interview like this or a
Right.
video where it's unscripted, and but you get to see like the raw them of thinking through things. That's
Yeah,
really cool. That so you would recommend people doing both the raw and the finished work.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Cool.
both are so useful. The nice thing about a book, right? I buy almost all of my books like paper now, just so that I can mark them up like crazy, and that way I have a bookshelf just full of awesome resources, where I can very quickly, pull the book out and flip through to pages where I turn the corner over. And like, I always treated books like library books growing up. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, turn over pages, get a highlighter, jot things in the
Yeah,
margin. I'm not trying to resell this. I want to be able to very quickly look through and be like, oh, that's right. That was a big insight.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one as well.
The
Yeah,
librarian's
I
not
feel
gonna get mad at you at the end of the day. Yeah.
like.
Tell us a little bit about your experience in sales over the past 3 years.
Yeah. Well, I've done a lot. I started out with pest control, did a summer of pest control. Towards the end, one of my managers said, "Hey, I'm taking you. I want to extend the opportunity to you and a couple other of the high performing reps to come do this thing with me in Florida." So we did that. I was roofing sales. Um,
Roofing.
yeah, so yeah, we worked for like a company, and we'd go help people who have repaired roofs, help them get money out of their insurance company. It was a great gig. That was fun because it was the second thing I'd done in sales, and it just kind of taught me that sales is sales, and it doesn't matter if you're selling pest control or roofing or my current thing, an ERC program. Sales is literally the same thing across all of it. So little changes. It's just a couple
Interesting.
words that you say, but everything else, all the principles are still the same. That was cool. Um, I did a couple of solar blitzes where I'd go out for like a week or two, throughout that first off season. Um, I learned not to trust people because I got screwed out of a lot of money from that roofing company. Uh,
No.
I'm still owed at least 20 grand.
Oh, no.
I'm never gonna get it
Yeah,
back.
so what walk me through that, and for other people, because I've heard that before, people getting screwed over, especially
hmm
summer sales. How did it work, and how would you prevent that from happening?
So, I mean, it sounds bad, but the reality is that most of these people who screw you over aren't like, they're not Jordan Belfort, like people who are going out there intentionally, like knowing that they're super going to screw someone over.
Yeah,
They're very charismatic salespeople who make a bunch of promises that are on the borderline of true. They hype something up like crazy, then it doesn't go well. And instead of, being a man about it and fulfilling their promises, they just disappear. Like that's what happened to me. They made a bunch of promises, had us all go out and a lot of times spend our own money to book flights out there and with promises of how much we'd be making. They're like, oh, you got these deals go through. We have a 90% rate of the way it works is we would talk to a homeowner and we would say, hey, you have a bad roof. We will go after your insurance company. We'll get the money from your insurance company, and then we'll fix your roof. And so it was a great deal. I love selling it because it's a no brainer. But they told us that like 90% of deals would be pushed through insurance companies, and but then after they just had a terrible system for keeping track of things. I had three of my deals that were stolen by another rep. The other rep just went back to the houses and had the homeowner switch their account from my name to his name just randomly. I had a bunch more deals where they just stopped talking to me about the progress. So what I'd say is just if you're trying to be in summer sales industry, then make sure that I don't know. Don't trust anybody. Don't trust what they say. They're making promises. Don't trust it. Do due diligence, like
okay.
actual due diligence. Require them to show you like 1099s from employees from previous years. If you want to be safe, they're going to say our average rookie made, whatever their number that they pull out of the ground is. Let me decline that. Yeah. So they're just going to show you whatever number. Just like make them show you proof. And it's awkward, right? It's an awkward conversation because they're going to be like, oh no, like we trust each other. If we don't trust each other, this isn't going to work, you know? Like we got to be a team here. It's like, no, like make it awkward. Tell them, hey, I need to see proof. You're asking me to go spend a bunch of time and invest my time in your business. I need to see proof. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I need to see that this is actually going to happen. I need to see numbers. And then also, if it's a new operation, just be skeptical, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard though, because I jumped on that new operation and it ended up being bad. And then the ERC thing I'm doing now, which has made me a lot, it was a brand new operation and I could have been totally screwed over by that too. And so it's just, yeah, it's
Yeah, so it kind of leads me into do your own due diligence.
right,
What and get the actual numbers of what other people did. Call up
right,
references, call up former sales guys, right? And then say, who did
right.
you hire on? Who is under you? Let
Yeah,
me talk to them, right? Um, then wouldn't it also be like, how do you get the best structure in the deal? So let's say, because I know people structure things differently in sales. Sometimes they pay you
yeah,
up front a little bit, and sometimes would it be better to get paid more up front rather than waiting 12 months or 8 months down the road? Because let's say you wait 8 months and then they're like, actually, we used all that money and now we're bankrupt, but you're not going to get paid. What do
yeah.
you think is the best structure for a commission?
Like in general, or for
Maybe in general, I want to know what you experience with your commission structures because I'm working with a couple
right.
different companies that are doing door to door sales, and so I'm trying to
uh
learn more about the that structure.
Yeah, I think the most important thing in commission structures is just making positively sure that your incentives are in line, right? You want to make sure that your managers aren't incentivized to screw you over. You want to make sure that the rep isn't incentivized to do funny business. Like, for instance, one thing that happened a lot, which is the reason why pest control companies do back end pay, is you would have a rep who goes in there and he would literally tell, like, let's say he makes $250 per sale, right? He goes to the homeowner, and says, hey, just we have a really cheap initial service, right? Just cancel right after that, and I'll get my money, and you'll get a cheap service, and then just cancel out of the contract, and you'll have some of those. And so part of the reason why they do back end is because that way they can see that those accounts are going to stick all the way through to the end. They're actual solid accounts, and that kind of makes sense. It just also, because it's an MLM, right? It means that any dollar that I make directly cuts into the commission of my manager. And so a lot of times you'll have managers who aren't super honest, and they'll make up reasons to take a lot of money from their reps. And they'll just be like, oh, well, you didn't work 8-hour days every day. Like you said, you only worked 5 hours a day. And so I'm going to take 50% of your back end. Right. It's
Yeah.
like, no, they still did the work. Every dollar that's in there is because they worked hard. It's like, you just have to make sure you trust people. As far as commission structures, as long as your incentives are aligned, that's what's important.
Yeah.
Um,
What would be
yeah.
some of those incentives, if you like either with a sales company that you're with that you really liked, or if you were going to start your own?
Yeah. Let's see. I haven't thought about a lot about if I started my own. Um, my current company, right? I work with companies to help them get an IRS credit, and I don't get paid until the business owner is paid. So once they get the credit back from the IRS, that's when I get paid. And so I think that's a really good example of, and my company doesn't get paid either. And so that's, I think, a really good example of incentives being aligned, where we don't ask for any kind of deposit up front. We don't ask for any kind of payment until after we've done all our work and they've gotten the check from the IRS. And that's just a great situation because it incentivizes our whole company to be efficient, to be
Mm,
friendly, to keep the person liking us, and to do a good job. And I think those are great, where you only collect upon success. Um, I worked with some other ERC companies that required like a $2,000 retainer or whatever, and some of those they're a harder sale and they're not as good because maybe you have a company who's like, oh well, we'll just get a bunch of retainers and not do any work.
For sure.
um, that's a good example, I think, of a great
Okay. Okay.
commission structure and incentive alignment structure, just to make sure that if the customer's happy, the business succeeds, and make sure there's no way to fudge things. And,
For sure. You talked
yeah,
about how sales are all the same, right? You've worked with
yeah,
four different kind of industries, maybe more.
yeah.
But uh, what what is that sales process for you that you found that you're like, this kind of is the sales process, or these are the sales principles? What are yours?
Let's see. I mean, as a general rule, sales is about being friends with someone and helping them. Good sales, right? Good sales is about being someone's friend, really understanding them, and helping them find a solution to their problems. That's all it is. Just being friends with someone and helping them find a solution to their problems. Um, and so the first step, obviously, is developing some sort of connection, building rapport. Being their friend, being interested in them. And you can fake that or do it for real, but being their friend. Um, Second step is finding out what their problems are. What their not their objections to the sale, but what their pain points are.
Yeah,
What's actually ailing them. If that's someone who's selling you their business, you figure out why they're selling. You figure out, you know, what's been going wrong with the business, or what they're excited about in the future and why they're selling. And that's step two. Step three is, if you do have a match, right? Then you want to help them see that your product or your service is going to solve their problems. If you're a little bit ethically challenged, then you might just pretend like your service helps them when it doesn't. But if you want to stay on the ethical side as I see it, then if they have a problem that you can actually solve, and it's just about drawing those parallels, helping them over any incorrect assumption or paradigms they have. Like when I did solar, a lot of people have really weird ideas about how solar works. And so you sit there, you be their friend, you figure out that their power bill is super high, and then you help them understand working through objections is just about opening people's minds. You know, they're really worried about something. They think they have some incorrect assumptions about the world, and you're just helping them remove those incorrect assumptions, see the world more clearly, so that they can be like, oh, yeah, your solution absolutely will help me. And then from there, it's just once they see that your solution is going to help them, then you're pretty much done. You just have to basically have the balls to close and just say, let's get this done right now. Like
yeah,
shake on it, or whatever you have to do to be like, let's do the deal.
gotcha. Um, so being a friend, helping them see the problem, and then helping them see that your service or product will help them solve it, and then foreclose.
Yeah, I think that's
I like that. That's super simple.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
simple.
I think that's great.
It is great. Um,
I'm happy with that. Yeah,
like I think it's
I'll sign
great.
my name at the bottom of that.
What what services? Because some things have to be easier to sell than other things. Do you
Right.
prefer? Do you prefer some? I mean, this might be a stupid question, but do you prefer something that's super easy to sell? Like, what have been things that have been really easy to sell versus very hard to sell? You know?
Okay, so I don't get me wrong. I really like a challenge, but oftentimes when someone's talking about something that's hard to sell, they're talking about a product that sucks. I don't like selling products that suck. I don't like selling products that I don't fully believe in. And so selling ice to Eskimos, for instance, is very hard. But if I ever actually do sell ice to Eskimos, I'm not a salesman. I am, I'm basically a liar. I'm a cheat. I'm defrauding them. I'm a manipulator, right? And I don't think sales is about manipulation. Sustainable sales is about finding solutions to problems. So in that way, I do like challenging sales, but I like products that ideally should sell themselves. Like with the roofing thing, a lot of people have a lot of concerns There were a lot of sales that I made that I was super proud of. I was like, oh my goodness, like I cannot believe I just closed that. At one point, I was up on someone's roof because I talked to his wife. I talked to his wife about doing the inspection, and I went up there. And I was up
Yeah.
there with my brother, um, and the husband came running out of the house, just like screaming at me and yelling and cursing. And I was so this is myself I was most proud of. Like I just kept my cool. I came down on the ladder. I talked to him in an even voice while he was getting up in my face and just kind of explained things. And then slowly over the next like 30 minutes, I calmed him down, helped him understand what we were doing, that what we were doing was going to be great for him, solved tons of objections. Then I got right back up on the roof, finished my inspection, and closed it. Like, I really like that, as long as it's a product that I fully believe in. Yeah. So I guess,
Interesting.
does that kind of answer the
Yeah,
question?
that's really interesting. So,
Yeah.
um, there might be products that like, or there might be a problem that's really big in somebody's life, but then the the solution that you're offering, they're skeptical of it or they don't trust it.
Yeah.
How
Right.
how does what do you prefer? Do you prefer like something that's a huge problem, but then it's a little harder to close versus it's a medium-sized problem, but it's easy to close. It sounds like the roofs were like a huge problem, but if you're like, yeah, or the ERC is a great example. I know you were talking to me about this. You're like, yeah, I can make you $1 million because they passed this tax law, but they're like, nah, I just don't believe you. So your
Right.
product is like freaking amazing, but
Yeah.
you still have to sell them, and it's a harder sale because they just don't believe you.
Right. Um, let's see. So we're saying, yeah, I it is always a little hard when people constantly question your integrity, because it weighs on you. And after 100 people are all like, "I'm pretty sure you're a scam artist," then you start to wonder, and you're like, "Wait, am I a scam artist?" It's like, no, I'm giving away free money. I'm not a scam artist.
Yeah, scam
um,
artists would never do that. They would just lie about
right?
giving away free money.
Yeah, but enough people say it to you, and you start to wonder, "Am I the problem?" It's like,
Yeah,
no, I'm not the problem. I've been over this. um, so yeah, but I do think it is quite fun to see a big change, and it is also so fun when you have someone who's like with that dude. Like afterwards, he was like apologizing to me, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, I came out so rude." Like, and he was great, and he loved me when I left, and he was probably one of my most enthusiastic sales by the end. And that's really fun to just see that night and day shift where you come in and they're like all thinking this way and mad or think you're lying to them, and then at the end they're like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much, you saved my life." That's really fun, and you don't get that in like what you're talking about, like a commodity sale where it's like medium sized problem, medium sized solution.
yeah,
You don't get that in pest
yeah.
control.
I gotcha.
Also, there's a lot more money per deal in those bigger type of problems. If you're solving a massive problem that someone's skeptical about, there's a lot more in it. I think I
Sure,
like that
sure,
because the skill cap is higher, and if you're good at it, then you can close more bigger deals, make more than you ever could with the small commodity stuff.
sure. Well, the
Yeah.
one of the reasons I asked that because you can look at it from two perspectives. You can look at it from the
Hmm.
salesman's perspective, like what's more fun, what's more enjoyable, which it is more
Yeah.
fun and enjoyable to sell a big deal and then come away with the 2,000 or $20,000 commission check. You're like, dude, I just sold this
Yeah.
airplane and it was super hard, but it was awesome. Versus
Yeah.
so it's like there's a salesman's perspective, but then there's also the business owner's perspective of what's the best opportunity, which you're stepping into here pretty soon. Tell us about
Right.
tell us about what kind of made you switch from doing sales to now wanting to have your own business.
Right. Well, it's twofold. One, I think there's a lot more. Um, money to be had in owning a business, which is not, well, that's actually not strictly true. It's the more so is the second reason, which is that I'm gonna be totally honest, I don't love sales. Like, there's no part of me that wakes up in the morning and is like, yes, I'm a salesman. It's like, I really don't. The passion for it is not there. Whereas with business, I see the opportunity to wake up every morning and have new problems to solve. And again, it's still where my success is directly related to my effort, but I feel like it's a lot more intellectually difficult, and there's a lot more different types of problems.
Mm.
Um, Sales, I think, gets to the point where you pretty much understand it. And don't get me like, I'm not the best salesman in the world, but it gets to a point where it's kind of redundant, you know.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about business is there's always something burning, and so there's always like a new problem to be solved, a new hurdle to overcome. You can never get to the point where you're just doing the same thing every day. And that's what a lot of people don't like about business. They're like, it's so stressful, right? I'm always solving new problems that I have to come up with solutions to. Whereas for me, it's like, yes, like I want to be in a position where I every morning I wake up and I'm like, what went wrong today? Let's solve it. Let's figure out what the problem is. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of the bigger reason. It's just I want something that's always pushing me to solve new problems that no one else has solved before.
For sure.
That's that's quite enticing to me.
Which goes into a little bit of what you talked about before of the risk of like for a lot of people that would be frightening to be like
Right.
I have to solve new problems every day, but for you and for me we're like, oh, we love to solve new, it's exciting, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
for you, I haven't done this myself. I want to. You decided that you're going to buy a business rather than starting it. Walk me
Yes.
through pros and cons of buying versus starting a business.
Yeah. So starting a business, you have a lot more flexibility on you can do anything you want, anywhere you
Okay.
want.
Okay.
Also with starting a business, you can try out something new that's never been done before, right? By definition, if you're buying a business, you're doing something that's already been done before. And so if you're like, a techie person and you want to do some crazy idea or an adventure, then you want to start your business. Like, don't try and buy something.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, starting a business, you have a lot more flexibility. You have a lot more industries you can go into, a lot more places you can go into business. And a lot of times the mega biggest businesses alive are going to be those ones that were started. Things like Amazon and Apple and Microsoft, things that didn't exist before. They started a new business, exploded. The benefits though of buying a business, obviously you have to have some amount of money to buy a business. So that's a huge hurdle. So then I guess on your pros list for starting a business, you can do it with nothing, right? With literally nothing, you can start like a window washing business. You just go knock doors with a pail and a squeegee, and you say, "Hey, my name's John, and I'm here in town, and I'm the best window cleaner you've ever seen. I'm about to clean your windows." Like, you can start from nothing, and then you can grow up, and make $1 million off window cleaning. That's awesome. With buying a business, if you're smart about it, you can have a little bit more guarantee that you have a product market fit. You're not just hoping that something works. You have a proven track record that in this space, in this location, this type of product works, and that's nice. Um, Two, if you have, with my skills in sales, going from zero to $100,000 is a lot easier in sales and a lot faster than it would be for me to start a business. And so it means that I can take my past career and take the money and put it towards a business, and I can get started a lot faster. The other nice thing about buying a business, and this is somewhat true for starting a business, but for buying a business, at least for me, it allows me to leverage the money I do have to a huge degree. And so that if I have, say, $50,000, I can get a loan for an extra $250,000, and I can instantly have a business that's cash flowing 100 grand a year or something like that. Whereas going from zero to that might be a lot harder. Um, and the last pro in my case is if I'm buying a business from someone, it's not too difficult to find someone who will stay on for about a month after the sale to kind of teach you how things work and give you a jump start. And that's also a huge plus for me because I don't have a lot of business experience. I'm confident I can figure it out,
Mm.
but having someone to show me the ropes on their business and say, hey, this is how we operate, this is what we're doing, this is how to not run this business into the ground, that'd be huge for me as well.
For
So I think
sure.
there's definitely benefits to both. But if you
For
have a
sure.
chunk of change and you want to be cash flowing as soon as possible, then I think buying business is
For
the way to
sure.
go.
So one of the questions I have, because I'm thinking about other people are listening to you. They're saying, okay, I have 50,000, I have 100,000 in my bank account, and should I go and start a business or buy a business? Sounds like you, for yourself, you're saying, my situation, I would buy a business. Would you
Right,
recommend this to other people? Not legally, like obviously you're not a professional
right,
or
right.
whatever. That's
Financial advice.
yeah, yeah. But would you say like this is a really good path? Like I would recommend anybody that has specific qualities or traits, go and be an entrepreneur. That's what I would recommend. Would you recommend if you have some capital and it's your first business, buying a business or starting a business?
So I think it depends a lot on how confident you are that business ownership is the thing for you.
Okay.
If you have 50 grand, 50 grand is not a small amount of money, right? It's not a million, but it's a pretty good chunk of change. Um, and if someone's about to invest that, then clearly it's a big investment for them personally, whether or not there's a billionaire in the world. And so if you're not 100% sure that owning a business is for you, then it might be nice to start a business. Go, like I was saying, go start something small like a window cleaning business, just to make sure that you actually do enjoy it,
Mm.
to make sure that you can be self driven, that you don't wake up in the morning and take a day off 6 days a week. Because some people, some people have a hard time with that. They
Yeah,
wake up and they don't have to be anywhere, and they're like, I'll wake up at noon and I'll
yeah,
go to bed
yeah,
at 3 and nothing gets done. And if you have a hard time working without someone else to tell you what to do, then there's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to be a great entrepreneur. Like
for sure.
you can go make tons of money not being an entrepreneur. That's fine, but that's one is just if you're not totally sure, then I wouldn't recommend it. And B, if your reason for going into business is that you're passionate about something, then also maybe don't buy one. My reason for going into business is because I really like business and because the challenges of owning a business just so much mess with my personality. I don't care what business I buy. I really don't. Like I'd rather not buy a trash hauling business, but if that's what I have to do, I 100% will. Whereas for a lot of people, they start a business because, oh, I love making bread and I'm really good at it. So let's start a business. I think you should start one. I don't think you should go buy someone else's business. I think you should start one and make it
Yeah,
yours and make it awesome. So yeah, it depends on your situation. If you know you want to
that
be an
makes sense.
entrepreneur and you're not super picky, then buy a business. If you are super picky, you have passion and you don't want to do something else, or if you're not sure you want to be an entrepreneur, then don't put all your eggs in that basket.
For sure. I don't want to sound like a doubter here, but playing devil's advocate because I'm interested to
Yeah,
see how you respond to this. Playing devil's
yeah.
advocate, there might be people that say, "Yeah, but you haven't started a business, so how do you know what qualities to look for in a good business? Because you could buy a sinking ship, but you don't know
Right.
what qualities to look for." How do you know what qualities to look for?
I'm still learning a lot of
Okay,
that. To be perfectly frank, I am. Cody Sanchez is a great resource for that. She is very much on top of that space. She has a mastermind that I'm considering joining that goes over a lot of that kind of stuff. They have a bunch of templates for like contracts you want to have, due diligence checklists, things like that. And before I buy a business, I very well might buy that course. But that is something that I'm not totally sure on the legal side.
for
I'm
sure.
working right now to find a CPA I really trust and a lawyer I really trust, so that I can bring deals to them. And even if I have to pay them, $500, $1,000 to help me vet a deal, that's always worth it, right? Spending $1,000 to make sure that $100,000 purchases is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot about that. I'm reading a lot of books and thinking about joining that mastermind.
Cool.
Um,
What would
like
you say?
obviously,
What would you say some of those factors are that you're looking at a business today? What are some of those factors you look for in a business you want to buy?
right. So first and foremost, why are they selling? If they
Yeah.
don't have a really good story, then I'm not going to buy it. If someone's selling it because they're retiring, that's an amazing reason because they have a ton of goodwill built up in that business, and they're just buying it because they are done. If someone's buying it because they're working on other ventures, then that can be a good reason or bad reason. Sometimes people say they're working on other ventures when really they just mean this one's going into the ground, so I want to get out. So why they're selling it, that's huge.
Yeah.
Second thing that I know is you want to see, as many years of tax returns as you can just to prove their income. Make sure that everything that they're saying is true. Because that's the best part about people who are dishonest is they can't help being dishonest. And so then if you just verify each number that they tell you, you can see so easily, oh, you were lying about this. And they're like, oh no, well, no, because and you're like, well, you were lying, and so now I know not to trust you. This is great.
That's interesting.
um,
That's cool.
yeah, just verify everything they're saying on their tax returns and make sure that it's trending upward and it's not trending down. Um, I forget what the number is, but it depends on the industry. But most industries, you need to be growing at least some amount in order to keep up with inflation and with competition. And so unless they're trending upwards, then that's not something you want to buy. Other things, I was just listening to a Alex Hormozy podcast yesterday about investing and things like that, and one of the things he said was just make sure the person is always saying what they're always telling you the truth and doing what they say they're going to do, and also that they're prompt at responding to you. Like if someone's thinking about selling their business and you are interested in it and they take like a week to respond, then you can kind of reasonably assume that they're not really on top of things, and that's not a business that you want to buy. You don't want to buy a business where someone's way behind and not on top of things. So yeah, there's that. A lot of it though, don't listen to me, listen to the people who know more than me and have done it 6 times. That's why I love Cody Sanchez, is she's bought like 26 different businesses. I think she only holds like 10 of them right now or something like that. But she's done this a ton of times. She was in private equity space forever. Um, and I forget what her degree is, but it was something in that space as well. She's very knowledgeable. And so that's a huge resource that I would say. If you're looking at buying a
Cool.
business, definitely check her
Cool.
out.
Awesome. Um, what kind of returns will be like? I guess the question is, what kind of returns are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
What size of business are you looking for?
Yeah. So that's one thing I really like about business as opposed to real estate is your returns are a lot bigger. You have to do a lot more, right?
Yeah.
You have to run a business. It's not just you buy an apartment and find a renter for it.
Yeah.
But generally, across most industries, your multiple for buying a business is going to be 2 to 4x of the selling price is going to be 2 to 4x of the yearly cash flow. Cash flow is, all of the excess revenue plus whatever the owner pays themselves salary. And so if the annual cash flow is $100,000, you can expect to buy that business for about 300,000. And so on. If it's a $300,000 business, probably about 900,000. That's usually what they trade at. You'll find better or worse deals depending on the industry and depending on how good the business is and how motivated the seller is. But that's a good rule of thumb. To where if something's 6x multiple, then don't buy it. Just be like, I can get better. That's as far as multiples. As far as the size I'm looking to buy, I'm looking at something between 500,000 and 800,000, depending on how much funding I can get. I'm looking to get SBA 7A loan, and I'm talking to some people, but I still got some more work to do to figure out exactly what I can get approved for with my current income and credit score and all that. But I assume it'll be somewhere between 5 to 7 times my down payment that I can get. The SBA technically they'll loan up to 10 times your down payment. You can do as little as a 10% down payment. But it just depends a lot on how credit worthy you are. The other nice thing about buying a business is as long as the business has proven track record of making money, then the SBA will guarantee up to 70% of that loan, which allows you to get a lot better funding because worst case scenario, the SBA can just take the business from you, or the business or the bank can. And so you have a cash flowing asset. It's the same as like a house. You can get a way bigger loan on a house than you can just for funsies, if you say. You go to the bank and say, hey, here's 50 grand. Can I please have 400 grand back? They're going to be like, no. But with a business or a house, you have an asset there. So that's really nice. You can leverage really, really heavily.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
looking at something 2 to 4x, 500
Mhm.
to 800,000 to start out.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for your first business. And SBA, have you looked at having either investors or getting loans from family, friends, others? Have you looked at other options of getting money?
Yeah. So as far as family, friends, I really don't like the idea of having a partner in any way, just because one person's always more invested than the other. I've done some like small business ventures for fun, like here and there, just to try it out. And a lot of those I've done with partners, and I ended up doing way more work than they did because they weren't really that into it. And I'm just like, okay, I know I'm all in on this. I don't know if someone else will be, and so I'd rather just, it's my responsibility. I don't have anyone else's money to worry about losing. It's just mine, and no one else has control over the business. It's just me. I kind of like the whole idea of being solo. Investors, yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I don't really want to have to deal with that. I'd rather just have my own money because, like, yeah, it's just more stress. I feel like if I have to worry about losing someone else's money and the financial implications and all that, legal implications, I'd rather just, use my own money, buy my own business. I own it 100% free and clear. Yeah.
For
Plus,
sure.
with family, like money ruins relationships real fast if something doesn't go perfectly.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yep.
so if you like have an uncle buy in with you and then something doesn't go right, then every Thanksgiving from now until forever is the most awkward experience of your life.
Yep. Yep.
Remember that time when we both lost 200 grand together? Wasn't that great?
And I was the one who was responsible for it. That was the
Yeah,
best.
exactly.
That was the best part. It was your money and my responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that was so funny.
And a fork comes thrown your way.
Exactly.
Yeah. What kind of structure are you looking for in, like, I know we talked a little bit about this yesterday. What kind of
Mm-hmm.
structure are you looking for? Maybe a specific industry or a type of sales structure? What are you looking for there?
So in a business, I value freedom like above almost anything else. That's like my number one goal is just freedom, both financially, location independence, um, everything like that. Like the reason I want to be rich is so that I can do whatever I want whenever I want, and if someone else needs help, I can help them out. Just have freedom to do everything. And so because of that, I'm actually looking a lot more towards an online business right now. I don't care a ton what industry it's in, as long as it's a good deal, and as long as it's something that I'm at least enough interested in that I'm fine putting a bunch of time into it. Yeah, I was originally looking at, and we talked about this some yesterday, but I was originally looking at buying something local like a laundromat or a car wash or some sort of vending machine route or something like that, or retail. As I looked into it more and talked to some family friends and other friends I have who are in business, I came away with, yeah, I really want to be location independent. I want to be able to move wherever I need to. Um, Also, I have a lot of skills. We talked about this yesterday as well. I have skills in video and photography and I want to be able to use those on my business. And if it's something local, then starting a business YouTube channel doing content marketing isn't really going to help because it's such a small, addressable market. Whereas if you do something online, then your addressable market is technically the entire world as long as you ship. And that way, if I start a YouTube channel and I get, it's kind of like in your situation, right? You have a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram, and you're like, how do I convert these people, right? Like, oh, I have so many eyeballs, and like, how do I turn that into something sustainable? And if you have like a local business, it's a little harder to do that than if you have an online business, and then you just immediately convert on every eyeball that you have.
Yeah.
So I'm leaning a lot more towards online. I don't care what it is online, as long as it's interesting to me and a good deal.
Yeah. You can reach so much more people, grow so much faster
Right,
versus a local business. You can only reach, even if you're in New York City, you can only reach the people in that area.
right, right. And sure, that local area might be a million people. I don't know how many people are in New York, but a million, a couple million, I don't know.
Probably like
But
100 or 200 people.
Yeah, but then if you do it online, you can reach
Yeah.
all 7 billion of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. So looking at online freedom, um, just when you said that, two books popped in my mind. I think these might be. If I'm wrong, you can tell me I'm wrong after you read them. Two books.
after I read them.
I told
Okay,
you about the first one yesterday. E-Myth.
E-Myth. Yep,
Yeah. E-Myth is number one, and number two, Built to Sell.
built to sell.
Yeah. And I recommend those to every single entrepreneur because it walks you through how to automate a business. Like
Right. Okay.
step by step by step by step. Here's how you automate your business. And
Yeah.
in E-Myth, it talks even about your mentality has to change. You have to change from I need to do the work to how do I get my team and my systems to do the work. And for a lot of
Right.
people, it's I don't know about yourself, maybe not as much, but for a lot of people, it's like no, but I went in, I'm a baker of pies. I bake the pies. I'm the specialist. And it's so hard to let go of that responsibility.
Right. Yeah. I definitely have I've looked at that as I've even with sales, right? As I've looked at building teams underneath me and that possibility, it has always scared me. I'm like, yeah, but I know I can do it right. I know you're gonna do it right.
Yeah, yeah. Which is so much it honestly is so much harder to be a
Yeah.
leader. Alex Ramosi talks about this. I think it's like one of his
Yep.
three pillars of one of them is leadership. In order to be
Right.
in order to be successful at business, you have to be a
Yeah.
great leader.
Right.
And that's really tricky. I'm learning it every day. Every day
Yeah.
there are always new tricks. I'm like, oh, you mean we were talking about this yesterday? Oh, you mean I need to show more appreciation to my employees? I didn't even think it didn't even register. I thought when I first went in and I hired people, I thought that they just came in, I paid them, and they left. And I thought that's how it worked. But
Right.
apparently most
Right.
people like it's logical if I work for somebody else, I'd probably want to talk to them and stuff, but I guess I didn't really. So there's a lot to leadership there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I'm gonna have to learn as I go into business. 'Cause I'm not too worried about the technical side of things, but yeah, the political, interpersonal politics side of things, I'm a little nervous on that one.
Sure.
But yeah,
No,
that's
I
that's
I
gonna be
think I
the
think
biggest,
you're
funnest challenge.
you're a really good people person. So I think it'll be natural to learn the process of leadership and stuff. With the business that you're looking for, would you want a business that's cash flowing, that's fine, that's like I guess maybe there's a couple different levels and maybe like what level are you looking for? Are you looking for a business that's already automated, that's maybe at its cap, that's like killing it, um, and and it's going great, or do you want one that's like doing okay, but then you're like, if I came in, I could make it so much better. Or are you
Right.
looking for one maybe that's like lagging, but then you see an opportunity that the founders don't see, and you're like, hey, what scale would you say you're on there?
So, yeah, off of most fun, I would love taking a fixer upper and turning it around. But the reality is, and I have to be self aware on this and just realize I'm not good at business yet. I'm just not. I'm just getting started. I'm a Padawan. We still got a long ways to go. And so for right now, I want something as close to the top as possible. You know,
Okay.
I would ideally be able to have some room for growth. I would love it. Like I would like to buy a business. It'd be so fun if I bought a business from, let's say, a boomer who's retiring, and then I can just add a bunch of these technology things because that I'm familiar with, right? Cody Sanchez says this all the time when she's looking at businesses. If she sees a fax machine, she just like starts salivating. She's like, "Oh my goodness, I can automate so much in this business."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because she's like, "They're still sending faxes. There's no way they're using all these new cool companies and software services to automate everything. There's no way."
Yeah.
And so I would love to buy a business that's a little bit out of date, but it needs to be cash flowing well. I'm not in a position where I want to take a lot of risk. And I understand that that means I get a little less return. I'm fine with something that's selling at 4x instead of 2x. I'm fine with that right now, as long as it means that it's stable. And then once I am confident with that and take the training wheels off my business, then I'll be ready to either grow that business like crazy, or if there's not a huge amount of opportunity, then get that stable, put an operator in, set it aside, focus on something new that maybe I can be a little more aggressive on and
Mm.
have more fun down here with taking something that's just an absolute crapshoot and just, turn it around. But yeah, right now I'm looking for
Okay. Because
looking for something up here.
essentially you're paying for that ability. Like you're paying for the business to give you cash in return versus there might be more of an upside with a
Yeah,
business that's lagging that sells for a little bit less and you come in, but right now at
right.
this stage that makes sense.
And right now I'm paying a premium for education, right? Half of what I'm buying is a business, but half of what I'm buying is education, something
Mm,
that I can get my hands on and really just start applying these lessons to.
yeah.
Because you can only remember so much in your brain. You have to have something where you're applying these things day to day, or else it's just gonna in one ear out the other. You can't retain it unless you're doing it.
Hmm.
So that's half what I'm buying. I'm fine paying more than I should if it's a solid business that I can learn with.
That's something I love about entrepreneurs, especially, is that um, they're always wanting to learn more. Like I've heard so
Right.
much. Like how many people do you know? Like I wonder if they should do. Maybe they already have done a survey on whatever 1,000 people. Out of 1,000 people, how many people read an educational book every day or
Right.
once a week I think they did a. I think I heard something about that. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, I've heard the stats. I don't remember what they are.
I think I heard like the average American reads one book a year, I think. And
That
it
sounds
and I
right.
think most of the time it's not educational. It's not to help themselves. It's more of a fantasy or just entertainment or something.
Right. Well, and you also got to think about that stat because I know several people who read 20 books a year, which means there's also 20 people who read 0 books a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, that even out. Yeah, and I wonder what it would be like if you took entrepreneurs, the amount of books that they read or the amount of content that they consume. So I love that you're like, I'm starting this business not only to make money, but also to learn and to educate
Right.
myself.
Right. Yeah.
Which kind of goes into the final topic I want to discuss with you, which is mentorship. Um, what have you done? Have you found any good mentors, maybe family members or other people that have been good mentors to you?
So, so this one's kind of weird. I grew up poor. My dad has some really weird struggles he's had with receiving gifts. receiving gifts was always a huge big deal, and he was part of that proud, no, I'll make it on my own, don't you dare give me something for free type. I mean, yeah, generation. That's his was
Gotcha.
his mindset. I picked up a lot of that, and I have actually, like, years back, turned down several mentors because I just couldn't wrap my mind around, why are they doing this? I don't deserve this. You can't mentor me. Like, I'm
Wow.
I can't accept that gift, that goodwill from you. Like, when I wanted to do wedding photography, someone who took my acting headshots was like, "Oh, that's so cool. Like, we should sit down for coffee sometime and talk about this. I'd love to show you the ropes and help you get a jump start." And I just got so stressed out. I never even responded to him. That was like 4 years ago now, and I just got so stressed out. Um, yeah, I'm trying to reach out more and be more okay with, like, accepting that other people have goodwill and want to share, and figuring out how to build those mentor relationships. I did a little bit of branching out with my grandpa. He's a great businessman. He graduated valedictorian of BYU Law. Like, he's
Mm,
very smart.
totally.
And so I took him to dinner about a month ago or whatever to try and talk to him about some of my current things I'm thinking of with regarding law and accounting and how to set up business structures. And so check back with me on that. That's very much a learning experience for me. Learning
Right.
how to be mentored and be a good mentoree, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much learning on that one.
Well,
Um,
that's a great lesson for the rest of us. Like, it does take humility in order to receive, not
right,
not just to give your own talents and money or whatever, but also to
right,
receive.
yeah, yeah, and giving, like I've never had a problem with, like, giving. I love that, but receiving just feels so wrong to me, and I'm getting over that. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is so funny that for me at least, receiving is so hard for me
Yeah.
because you'd think it'd be just like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. There are some people that are on the other side, and it's so easy for them to receive, but so hard to give.
Right.
I was listening to a book. It's called The Go Giver, and it's
Uh
very
huh.
interesting.
Oh, I'm listening to that right now.
Are
Actually,
you?
is that's the leadership book, right?
I mean, it talks about leadership as well.
Is that the one? Let's see. Go Giver. Is that the one about the guy who's a salesperson and he's selling a furniture store,
Uh,
or
he is
he's trying to acquire a furniture store?
no, he is a salesman, and he goes and he
Okay.
sits down with like this old man who's a business tycoon, and he has like these daily meetings with him over like a week, and
Okay.
um, yeah, so it might be a different book.
Maybe it's just the second in the.
It could be. I think they
I think
wrote
it's the
one.
second. I'm looking right now. I think it's the second in this series
Yeah, the
that I'm
Go
reading.
Giver Leader.
Yes,
Okay,
that's the one I'm reading right now.
okay, okay. Um,
I got to look into that one. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
no, no. I was just gonna say that in the end they talk about like the equation because it's all about giving, right?
Yeah.
And how to be more giving and stuff. And they say the last part of giving is actually knowing how to receive. And they say if you look at it as an equation and you're like, let's say you have 10 people over here that all give one gift, but
Yeah.
only one person over here is willing to receive it. The equation doesn't make sense. You can't have 10 gifts and only one person receive it. You have to have there will only be one gift because there's only one person received it. You have to have an equal amount of gifts to an equal amount of receptions. So the point is like be willing to give and give and give, but then also be willing to receive from other people because they're giving to you.
Right.
So I thought
Yeah.
it was cool
That's
just looking
cool.
at it as like a math equation.
Yeah, my brother's super good at that. My older brother, and he like deconstructs everything in the math equations. It's so nice to have him as a resource, like, because he'll say things, and it's just such like math oriented, just like deconstructed things like love or friendship into like literal math equations, and it's like, yeah, that makes so much sense. And he'll open my mind to new ways of thinking about things just because he's deconstructed it so far. It's so helpful to be like, oh, yeah, that makes total sense.
That is so awesome. Are you talking about Robbie?
Robin, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, awesome. Um, well, thank you so much, Enoch. Any last words for anybody who's watching this that's looking at going into business? Any last recommendations that you would give?
Just Cody Sanchez and Alex Hormozy. They are both amazing and sharing so much information. Alex Hormozy especially, like I really respect the guy. Um, yeah, I mean, other ones are self-explanatory, right? Everyone knows to watch stuff from Warren Buffett and Grant Cardone and all that. But those two, especially in relation to business acquisition, Cody Sanchez like crazy on business acquisition. Alex Hormozy is more on business operation, but he has a lot of stuff on investing and acquisition as well. But yeah, those are my last recommendations. Aside from read as many books as you possibly can, because there's so much free knowledge out there. It's crazy. For $20, you can, $20 for a book, or $5 if it's used. You
Yep.
can just completely open up your mind. And another thing Alex Hormozy always says that I just love is that when you're old, yeah, you can invest in the S&P 500, but when you're young, you need to spend all your time investing in the S&Me 500, right? Invest
Yeah.
in yourself, in your own education, because that's what's going to give you those crazy outsized returns.
Well, I can't
Yeah.
wait. I can't wait in 20 years, maybe sooner, when there's another kid who he's starting up a business. He's like, you know what? Think you need to look up Enoch Weaver. He's one of those guys that you really got to listen to.
Enoch Weaver and Addison, you just got to look up these tycoons. They know what they're talking about.
That'll be a fun day. Well, I appreciate it, Enoch. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yep, thanks for inviting me.
If you really enjoyed this interview, click right here to watch more. If you want some business tips, click right here.